Back, and we'll continue our focus on different sides of the country. This time we're going to the maritime sector. The Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Apex Regulatory and Promotional Maritime Agency, created from the merger of the National Maritime Authority and Joint Maritime Labour Industrial Council on the 1st of August 2006. How effective are they? Okay, we just finished talking about regulatory agencies, right?
Here's another one.
NAFDAC, that's failing.
SON.
SON. Okay. Well, let's hope that NIMASA can tell us how they are helping Nigerians and all of that. So it's been a year since the new Director General took up that seat, and he's talked about different things. Well, the part I like, he's talked about how environmentally friendly they're going to be and how they're going to ensure that maritime safety is ensured and you can import and export your goods to the ease. And
then the cabotage laws, going to make sure that they work, that Nigerians are actually in the forefront of this business.
Okay. Well, I'm
very interested in that part.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to whisper. You didn't hear anything. But we have in the studio the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good morning, listeners.
Viewers.
It's whispering affected me. I told you.
Okay. All right. So real quick, how would you describe what you've done in the 1 year you've been on that seat?
It's been interesting and challenging. It's a whole new experience. Running a regulatory agency is different from running any other kind of system. I've served in the executive arm of government, I've served in the legislative arm of government, I've served in the corporate world where profit and loss is a language. But the regulatory function is unique, is distinct, is challenging, and is rewarding. Because you see yourself helping people achieve their own goals, helping reduce harm and hurting people for the larger interests of all Nigerians. You know, I tell my staff all the time that our business as a regulatory agency is not to make stakeholders happy. It is to make Nigerians happy. To make Nigerians safe, secure, and indeed protect our environment. And I say this all the time.
Shola Salako should be very happy to hear this. To make Nigerians happy.
But she's not here.
Not to please those who operate in the industry. It's usually very difficult for people to be compliant with rules and regulations. When you insist that they must comply with rules that will guarantee safety of everybody, it's usually very difficult for people to accept it. But you have to persuade them and use the force of law, which is backing you, to get them to comply with rules. And the other aspect of our work is promotional, to ensure that we get many Nigerians involved in shipping. Indeed, it's a global industry. And so, even in promotional function, it's three-dimensional. The first dimension is human capacity, to get the best of talents involved in the shipping industry. The second dimension is in acquisition of assets, meaning acquisition of vessels, boats, ship. How many Nigerians own these? And the third dimension, of course, is in ancillary services. Is it in shipping yard? Is it in ship maintenance yard? Investments in the industry? Even in the shipping, you have both upstream and downstream investments.
Since you came in, how much of investment have you been able to draw into this area?
Well, if you ask us some of the things we've done, if we begin to reel them out, I'm sure we'll not leave here, but we can just point out a few. Starting from the assets which we talked about. Before we joined the NIMASA team, they had started off building a modular floating dockyard, which will be the 5th largest in Africa. Now, it was still at the preliminary stage. As I speak to you, it is almost at the completion stage. And we'll be bringing back home the 5th largest floating dockyard in Africa, in the continent of Africa. Now, we don't intend to run it on our own because you admit that government is not the best businessman around. If we bring back that, by the preliminary calculations we've done, it will save the country a minimum of $100 million in foreign exchange annually. Currently, virtually all vessels, whether cabotage vessels, ocean-going vessels, are maintained outside the shores of Nigeria. We have Niger Dock, but we all know the story of Niger Dock. They're doing their best, but they're not performing optimally. There are not many dry docking yards around in the country. And so once we get that, we're able to save the country a minimum. And of course, it will far exceed that. A minimum of $100 million.
Okay,
that's what we're on.
Dr. Peterside, we're going to have to pace up a bit because we're out of time owing to the traffic situation, but we need to get some things out from you. When you talk about getting a lot of Nigerians involved in shipping, one begins to wonder about the complaints we've had about multiple certificates gotten by foreigners who are applying the Nigerian waterways. Are you looking into that, and how would that also, looking into that, help Nigerians gain more confidence that, I mean, they can come into shipping, whether maintenance or buying vessels and all of that?
Yeah, my observation is a lot of persons speak from an uninformed perspective, and they don't make any effort to know what is the true picture of things. My take is that it's possible that maybe foreigners in the industry operating within our maritime domain, our coastal domain, without appropriate certification, but they must be very few if they're able to escape our regulatory network. They must be very few. What I know is that there are foreigners who are authorized to operate within our domain. Is it right? The answer is no, it's not right. But we still have shortage of manpower, shortage of talent. And everywhere globally, you might have to accommodate talent from other places until you build up your own capacity. And we acknowledge that, and that's why we have intervened in 3 dimensions. We're training seafarers locally, using many local training institutions, but they're not competent enough to operate in ocean-going vessels. We discovered early enough that we have a major skills gap in terms of ocean-going seafarers. And so we intervened as a country by setting up what is called the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program, NSDP, where we sent some 2,900 young boys and girls to centers of maritime training around the world, in India, in the United Kingdom, in the Philippines, in Romania, in Egypt, and all other places around the world. Now, these young men and women are getting trained to become seafarers, not just seafarers, global seafarers. And we also realize along the line that an important component of their training has not been taken care of, and that's what is called the sea time experience, the sea time bet. So whereas we're training these people so that they can work on ocean-going vessels as seafarers, currently, I'll give you an important statistics. We have at most 5 Nigerians on board international sea-going vessels. Only 5 around the whole world. Whereas a nation like Philippines have 500,000 seafarers. China alone has 150,000 officers. I'm not talking about seafarers, officers. I mean chief engineer, masters on ocean-going vessels, whereas Nigeria has less than 5. And so to address that, we quickly intervened using the NSDP program. We're training people abroad. Once they come back, get sea time, get their COC, we're sure they'll be able to get employed on ocean-going vessels. There's a global shortage of manpower to the tune of 1 million seafarers.
Oh.
And so we're simply training 2,900, so it's just a pinch.
Indeed. Now, how safe are our waters? Because we heard of cases of pirates and...
Our waters are safe. We're trying to build confidence of stakeholders and practitioners about our waterways. You know, it's a peculiar challenge that people need to understand it in context. We have 3 hotspots globally. The Strait of Malacca, and that is the Singapore Canal that will take you to the Malaysia-Singapore Canal that it used to be a hotbed of piracy before.